everybody. It is that time of the year we have all been waiting for after, it's good solid 4 or 5 months. First of all, we're finally back together.
Finally.
The old crew formal and replays, which only means it is finals time here in our beautiful Sunside state of Queensland. And it is a sunny day here at Torres University. I am so keen to kick off what will be our final best of 5 of the season.
Oh, definitely, and it's definitely the best time to come back into. Obviously, I've missed basically the entire season, the only game I've casted so far this year, and it's, the best one to cast, right? The final, these are the best 2 teams in the state fighting out, and it's great to see these familiar teams and familiar names of players coming back year after year, and actually, kind of improving. Like, neither of these sides were in the finals last year. Obviously, St. Paul's in our inaugural final. Unfortunately, did lose that one, so hoping for redemption this time. But seeing these names that we've seen in the last 2-3 years coming back and improving and getting better and eventually getting to this final stage is great to see the process kind of working, that we've both involved in it from the very start. So it's a very, very exciting thing we've been able to kind of witness happen.
Yeah, it absolutely will be. And, of course, as you mentioned, St. Paul's making their return to a grand final. We haven't seen them in a couple years. Against them is going to be Mansfield as well. It's going to be a fantastic series that one would not want to miss. But before we get into it, a big thank you to our sponsors, Torrens University, Optus, MSI, and MSY. Today's finals right now are being held here at Billy Blue College of Design at the Torres University in the Fortitude Valley campus. If you're into gaming and esports, make sure to learn more about their game design, game programming, 3D design, animation, and graphic and communication design. Pretty much anything that you could ever want to, learn about video gaming and the esports or just gaming industry, it can all be found here. So if you're here at all in our audience, Sean is sort of a representative. You can search him out and speak to him. He's the game design lecturer. So to learn more about their game design courses, please, please, please seek him out, find him, have a chat. I'm sure he'll be happy to explain everything you need to know.
That's it, right? And yes, it's time for what we're all here for, is to get into game with these two sides to see who is going to take it out. Of course, we have Mansfield, who last year were the favourites. We thought, on paper anyways, didn't end up making the final, fell in the semi-finals actually to the eventual winners, McGregor. And of course, as we said, St. Paul's back again. So a lot on the line for both these teams, and it is something where they have a lot of expectations. And it's one of those situations where, if you can come away with the win, it's such a huge thing for your school and kind of to show your prowess in that esports realm. And it's such a great thing to see all these kids working together and kind of building those relationships in a team sport way, where sometimes I might be playing actual sports, and it's very different to have this kind of parallels between you can have that same team camaraderie and that same athlete kind of experience, but in a non-traditional way.
Yeah, absolutely, I do agree, and it's great to see both of these sort of institutions really embracing that esports. Both of them, it's not just League of Legends. You sort of see them in a variety of Queensland events.
Yeah,
I know
100%.
the Rocket League scene, Mansfield always has a couple of teams competing, so too has had St. Paul's in the past. Granted, they're different sports, so you won't see the same players. In fact, these are the players that we will be seeing. You don't typically see them on the Rocket League pitch. Instead, it's all about that League of Legends. So for the Mansfield side up top, it's Kip Kangaroo, Hats 104 in the jungle, T1 closer in mid, Blazing Spirit in bot, and then Shiloh Stargo in support.
And of course, their opponents from St. Paul's on the red side today. We have Messi and Snow in the top lane, Hunting You in the jungle, Admiral Kim in the mid lane, and Niam L in the bot lane, and Rubik 1908 in the support room as well.
Typically when you see 4 digits at the end of a name, it's like their birth year. I somehow doubt that Rubik is 112 years old, 113 now. I doubt it.
But you never know.
Never know.
High school could be a tough time.
That said, we are going straight into it. We are in our picks and bans, and straight away it is going to be the Galio band out, one of those safer, more control-oriented mids, which has been rising in popularity late, I feel, in the more competitive scene. I'm a little bit surprising, though, because Admiral Kim, very strong laner. I somehow doubt that this is going to be a player who's going to be opting for that safe mage in the mid lane.
Yeah, well, it could also be more of a support ban as well. Really what we're looking for is more target bans and meta stuff. Like, this is on the previous patch, it'd be on patch 11.14. Of course, we are playing on Tournament Realm. Very new experience for these players. No ping either. love that. So I get to see maybe some more mechanical champions if you're able to pilot them. But yeah, for sure, definitely more towards those targeted champions. You might see a little bit more meta because, of course, these are the two best teams in Queensland. Gwen being taken out of the picture.
Yeah.
Very, very, very strong champion. I will be honest, I haven't been playing a lot of League, but I'm still, trying to keep up with the meta. And I played a few games recently, and I haven't enjoyed playing against Gwen. She's been very difficult. A lot of damage can come out quite early. Another safe ban Brom as well. Looking for these more targeted picks towards some of the better players as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. Graves is definitely a target ban after hunting you as well. So it's that mix of targeted plus meta. I'm kind of in that same page with you where a lot of the league I've been following actually has been outside of our beautiful country. I've been watching a lot of Japan. And they let Gwen through a lot. And every time Gwen gets through, it's a bad time. So I definitely feel right now, at least, our high school teams more in tune with the meta than necessarily the Japanese games. And I know Corporal, who
You've been on the stream before.
Been on the stream with us in the past.
A friend
up in
of
Japan,
the stream.
Friend of the stream, a friend of Queensland League of Legends, now plays in the LJL. Maybe you should be taking some notes right now for how these teams are picking drafting. I'm just going to throw that out there. As it stands, though, priority pick Lulu. And that is a little bit of a surprise to me. Now, Lulu has been making a resurgence.
Bit of a flex pick.
Bit of a flex pick, but I'm not sure it warrants priority. That said, we never really know what we're going to get, so we also get an Echo in the first round.
It does stomp on Echo mid. If you make Echo is mid because Admiral Kim is a big Echo player. It's probably his main champion he does play. Lulu does destroy Echo in lane. And out of lane as well, you don't really need to farm to pick up that support item and build that gold. It's a very good strategy if you want to base your kind of strategy around your 80 carry, which Blazing Spirit is a fantastic Jinx player, has been for a few years now, or at least last year was that kind of style that they played. And three very, very, well, I mean, I don't know if Jinx is still in the meta, but go back 3 patches, this is like probably the best 3 champions you can pick. A very safe, very clear to execute strategy, which is what you want for the first game in this best of 5, by the way. I don't think semifinals are best of 3, right? Not best of 5.
No, they were best of 3s in the past. Now we're in best of 5.
Yeah, so this is the first kind of new experience. Nocturne, Mr. Busted. So
yeah,
3 picks that on the surface don't necessarily look like they're top tier picks, but when you see them all working together, you can see we've got these very execute. We've got a very clear dive comp on one side and a very clear keep the Jinx alive, and you've got Silas there to mix up that damage. You expect to come through some safe picks, something like a Zac in the jungle, maybe something a little bit more agency like a Xinjiao that transitions into full tank, or looking towards something really safe like Ornn, who's probably the strongest top laner at the moment other than Set, but that's already been taken off the table, so no real risk in going that way. But Katarina banned out here when the assume Silas is going to go mid. I mean, can go top as well, but much stronger in that mid role. Doesn't have as good matchups, especially when you think it might be going for something like a Nocturne. Unless, of course, Nocturne jungle too, but it's one of those problems at the moment where a lot of the strong champions can literally be played in multiple roles, or Lee Sin mid and top, which has been taken down a few pegs because of that recent nerf to his Tempest, but can still be played in those roles. If you want to. What we're looking at meta recently, especially because of the resurgence of AP junglers, has been a lot of AD laners, but that's something that AP junglers are quite tricky to play, and they're quite niche picks, so the junglers that can actually pick up those OP champs tend to be, if you're looking at this level of play, where you're not, practicing and learning new champions every patch, maybe you can't execute that strategy, so we have to look towards a kind of alternate meta.
Yeah, I don't know. When I'm kind of looking at this right now, yep, the knowledge was going to get locked in. I feel that was sort of a misidentification from Mansfield. St. Paul's is putting together a dive comp.
Yeah.
I think that's very straightforward at this stage. And when I see the Nico ban, like the Alistair ban I agree with, but unfortunately Mansfield kind of put themselves in a position where there was 3 supports they needed to get rid of with the Alistair, the Leona, and the Nautilus. Because they got rid of the Alistair, it makes me think that perhaps Mansfield would have been looking to flex the Lulu to a different lane and maybe opt for the Leona itself. But even that, I
think they need a lot of counter engage. So
exactly.
Volibear's not a bad counter engage champion. It's actually quite good, but you need something like Galio is like the god of counter engage, right? But there we go. Sion's a very fantastic pick too. Obviously Volibear and Sion do have options to go forward, but are quite strong when engaged into. So
I'm
2 really strong picks to help protect that Jinx, and it's basically going to be get Jinx out alive, which you've got the Luna there to pop to keep her boosted, especially with Immortal Shield Bow now does really help the survivability with the Jinx, which is why she was so strong for a while. Obviously Kraken Slayer is preferred, and to be honest, like Kai'Sa Nautilus used to be one of the strongest lanes, but has really fallen down. Kai'Sa is, it's full dive. That's just every button.
That is committing. I mean, that is commit.
That's what you want to see when you talk about these, not challenger level players is a lot of people try to play those challenger styles, but a lot of those champions are only strong when you're executing them at the 99th percentile. But this is you can see what I love to see, especially in game one, where you kind of just want to get into a rhythm. It doesn't, I mean, obviously you don't want to lose it, but if you do lose it, it's not the end of the world. You've still got 2 more games that they have to win. So you've still got 2 more chances to come back. Once you get 2-0 down, then it gets a bit scary. But you kind of have a game to play with a little bit. So it's good to get that first game, have very closed, very simple comps. Keep it, this is our strategy. The whole team is on one page because there's only one page you can be on, rather than those more advanced cops that have 3 or 4 win conditions that you can choose to play around depending on the game state and analysts and stuff like that. But this is just keep Jinx alive, kill Jinx.
Yeah, and I think Mansfield has some decent tools when it comes to keeping Jinx alive, and I actually do like how Mansfield has established himself with a pretty decent front-to-back team composition. And the more I think about the Silas pick in particular, the more I like that one.
Silas is a fantastic counter-engage
Exactly.
champion.
Counter-engage is there. The sustain is going to be there in those team fights, and I am a little bit worried that if St. Paul's gets himself jammed up in that front line and can't find those clear access points to the back line, Silas is going to be the one who actually is going to just kind of run straight over the top of them. And that's going to put the earnest on St. Paul's, which is interesting because normally with the dive pump, I feel the earnest falls on the team that has to sort of find ways to either counteract or bait poor dives or find the right avenues to sort of win those fights in their own right.
Yeah, 100%.
I kind of been throwing it back the other way. I feel for St. Paul's in this one, they're going to be the team that might find themselves on that back foot because if they make 1 or 2 miscommits, this game is going to quickly snowball out of control for them. So a lot of my eyes are going to be on that Malphite in particular. That unstoppable force is going to be so key in that mid and late game. It's going to have to hit Blazing Spirit, and if it doesn't, it's going to be a bad time. So Mansfield, if they play a conservative game, if they sort of let St. Paul's make the mistakes, I think they're in a really good position.
Yeah, 100%. And as we look for a little bit of an invader, has been spotted out by the ward there, so nothing should happen. But it's definitely late.
You say nothing should happen, but it's going to be a 4-man decimating smash. First blood secured by the Mansfield side, and they're going to collect after that. This is the exact sort of, poor decision that we did not want to see. It's going to be a level 1 ace replays, kicking off the Queensland final in style.
And 2 kills to the Lulu there. I mean, definitely could have won, but 1 on Silas, 2 on Jinx there. That's a very strong start. I mean, they're going to be big lane advantages here. Jinx already a few components in. Silas has gone ahead and grabbed that. Not going for the corrupting start, which you usually go for on Silas, but definitely a big advantage there. And as he said, this is definitely a late game focused comp from Mansfield, and this is such a huge advantage to them straight away off the bat. Also means that Silas, late game is a massive threat as well. That champion is busted, especially if you can get that W cooldown down low. He's basically impossible to kill, even with grievous wounds on everyone. So that's such a big advantage for them too.
Look at the itemization that Blazing Spirit is going to have coming into lane before this game even really starts. And this is why, hey, you know what? Best of 5. I think if you're on St. Paul's, you kind of tell yourself that, like, it's going to be okay. We still got a few more games. We tried the level 1 invade. Didn't work, but that's why it's a full series. And even realistically, I mean, this game isn't technically over yet. You still have a full game to play. You can't decide it in the first 2 minutes, but for the team that needed to play that more sort of let our opponents come to us, let them make mistakes.
Yeah.
They've already done that less than 2 minutes in, and now they're sitting with, as you sort of pointed out, a nice gold advantage, and it's just going to keep growing. That damage out of Blazing Spirit already at level 1 is just too much for Rubik to handle.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you could have got... Oh, okay. The support racking up the kills there. The flash in for the kill, and still trying to trade in the mid lane here with the Echo and Silas as well, but it's just acting all over the place for game 1, which I thought was going to be very conservative and chill because of the team comps picked, but it's been basically the complete and utter opposite.
You'd never underestimate the Flash AD Lulu engage, okay? I know. I see a spellbook down there. I know that's not AD Lulu. We're less than 3 minutes in. Still plenty of time to change. You got 3 kills under your belt.
You have enough spare gold. You can swap it out, not lose too much.
Pick up a Colt, start stealing farm from Blazing Spirit. Have a good time. I think that could be enjoyable for all. But no, it's definitely, this is the exact start Mansfield was looking for. It's going to be a tough game for St. Paul's to deal with that bot lane. Definitely, I feel they're in a situation where as soon as possible, you almost have to find a way to get Naya almost out of that lane and farming in a different lane. Instead, though, they're going to be looking up top for what should be a pickup on Kip Kangaroo. Kill will go over to hunting you. And I do kind of agree with that decision. If you can get that Nocturne start snowballing, once you get to that level 6 power spike, that mid game isn't where St. Paul's will be looking to get back into.
The mid game is not even comparable. Early game goes towards Mansfield, 100%. The invade if we're looking at the champions specifically, Mansfield win super hard level 1 and 2. Like, they just win super hard because the St. Paul's comp is built around their ultimates. Their ultimates all synergize so well together, and that's where the comp is coming from. Especially Nautilus. Like, Nautilus is pretty average level 1. Once he can combo his abilities together, stack that passive up, get multiple routes, that's when he's really strong and why he's so good. But level 1 definitely not the stronger comp here. You know, if anything, you were more expecting an invade out of Mansfield. But, you know, it's the way things happen, right?
Polymorph does mean Naya actually doesn't get hit by the chompers, but still chasing him down is Blazing Spirit. Meanwhile, this Lulu just going to town against Rubik, who really only needed one auto, instead has to flash over the wall to get out alive. Back of the top lane, Hunting You having a look at Kip Kangaroo, should be able to get that fear, and with it will be another kill going over to this Nocturne. 2 kills pre-level 6. St. Paul's, they have that out right now in this jungle. Action continuing in the mid lane as well as Closer and Admiral Kim go at it. A re-engage from Closer actually has Admiral Kim on that back foot, trying to walk out of line. Is flash for flash. One more auto could do it, but Kim does just enough to get out alive.
Yeah, big flash commit there. And down in the bot lane, it was a bit of Blazing Spirit. If you just hit the Nautilus, there was nowhere for him to go. He couldn't get out. Committed that flash, overextended for the Kaiser, and Lulu was kind of left standing there with like, where'd my AD go? What happened? A bit of a comic error, but ended up to get out. But that's the thing, right? The problem is with Mansfield, they could possibly fall into this. I was going to mention a little bit later because I didn't think it would happen so quickly, but this little lull of, oh, we're ahead already. We're a late game comp that's going to forward our skating. And in the mid game, they might take some fights where they actually can't win because the other team's champions are just stronger. But it's happened in lane phase where they've kind of got this air of confidence. Really great jungling there by Hunting You on the Nocturne. Getting that. It's a classic technique to do in solo queue. Works a little bit less in 5v5s, but as you can see, it does work. But in solo queue, that's a huge thing is, you know, if you kill a top laner, they're going to TP straight back in. So just go back into Fog of War and then pop back in and go straight through again, and you can repeat exactly the same thing if you can hold that freeze. As Silas out of mana here, but
yeah, flash over the wall from Hats, going to turn it around. Closer was ignited, but the damage not quite there. 7-2 kill lead right now in favor of Mansfield after that mid lane gank. And although Hunting You is doing their best to keep relevant as that Nocturne, speaking of experience, as a little bit of a Nocturne player myself, there is nothing worse than playing really any jungler that spikes at level 6 and seeing a scoreline like this before that level 6 mark, knowing that, like, it's going to be a tough game for you to play. Granted, if your opponents are going this deep like Kip Kangaroo, I mean, I guess you take those. Closer, though, still going to teleport in. Unstoppable Force stolen and used by Closer, and that's going to turn this fight right back around in favor of Mansfield. Hunting You was able to escape. Messy and Snow was not. Meanwhile, back towards the Dragon Pit, Mansfield has looked to engage it. As we see Hats already going to town on that Ocean Drake. Will get found out, but there are too many members of Mansfield around for St. Paul's to do much about it. They get full vision, though, trying to buy time. Do we see a cheeky play? Voidseeker does come out from Naya, but they're being zoned out by this support. Lulu, who is able to escape. Dragon was secured by Hats, who is now going to look to re-engage onto Rubik. Choppers come down, and there's nowhere for this Nautilus to go. Another kill picked up by Hats.
And while that was going on to the Nocturne ultimate was used to pick up a kill onto Silas in the mid lane, who had used his TP and then got ganked once he came back to lane. Silas already going, interestingly going for the Lost Chapter rather than going for the other one is you see Kip Kangaroo getting ganked for the 3rd time.
Yeah, Hunting You is definitely hunting kangaroos today, it appears. It's going to get the flash this time around, but
wards save lives, guys. That's all I'm going to say. Wards save lives.
Well, so does Flash in this situation. Still, though, Kip Kangaroo definitely is going to be feeling a bit of that Nocturne camp. Granted, I think it's a sacrifice Mansfield is willing to make. I mean, that's kind of what Scion is there for, as the rest of the team just continues to snowball further and further ahead. 3 kills still. The kill leader happens to be on Shilo Stargo, so this Lulu leading the way, I suppose, for Mansfield. 4K gold lead for this blue side, and again, not even at that 10-minute mark yet, as Admiral Kim might be getting caught out once more. Hats with the stun. Shilo Stargo there to provide backup, but so too is St. Paul's right to see Admiral Kim still getting sniped in that backline. Has to bust the chrono break just to try to get out alive. The depth charge was stolen by Closer and used to get the kill onto Rubik themselves. Admiral Kim trying to outrun the Blazing Spirit, but cannot. And now here come those procs. That procs the flash from Hunting You, as it turns out. But the Super Mega Death Rocket will connect, and it's another 2 kills going over to the Mansfield side.
That's it. Beautiful play there by Mansfield, using that advantage to kind of come in. Didn't have any resources, but close. Like coming in from the mid lane, that Silas just so much damage that he can pump out, and he's like impossible. His healing on his W would already be over 1,000 health. Like it's just ridiculous how much health that champion can get back, and especially because it even got nerfed. Obviously, that doesn't come into next patch, but. Very, very strong champion at the moment. Even stronger if you actually went for the blasting. You go blasting one and you get the corrupting pot, and your damage is just off the charts early on. Obviously, he does have to go through a bit of a lull in the mid game, but definitely I'd say one of the strongest AP scaling champions in the game. Once he gets that W cooldown down low enough, and into Echo was an excellent matchup for Silas because, one of the Echo's biggest strengths is you can't kill him because of his ultimate, but then when you have his ultimate, it's a whole different thing altogether. You just don't have that health advantage, which is one of Echo's big execute things. Echo also opting for the Ignite, which is definitely suboptimal. You go TP basically 100% of the time. Even in solo queue, you make up more gold than you would from the kills with the Ignite. In a game, you expect to be a little bit more close, but obviously locking that start on the Echo is...
Oh my, everyone's coming in from
in.
above right now. Hunting you will be the first to fall, one would think. Actually does go down. Kid Kangaroo is arriving to the scene, but it's... How does Hats get out of that? Very fortunate for Mansfield.
CC chains.
Yeah, that was a bit unfortunate right there for St. Paul's, and now that Rift Herald's going to be the reward for Mansfield. 20K hit at just under 10 minutes for the team. The big one to look out for, before that fight was sitting at like 10 out of 12 kill participation. I'm looking at Blazing Spirit down in that bot lane. 88 CS at this stage. Getting close to the 2-item power spike before the 15-minute mark. That's something that you normally want to hit by the third dragon, and you're having a good game. There's a chance we could be seeing something akin to like the second dragon.
He's baking getting this. Yeah, basically you want to get your full build if you're farming. Like, I mean, if you're a challenger player, you hit 3 items at 25 minutes every game, right? He's gonna hit 3 items if he stays on pace here, like 18 minutes, which is like ridiculously quick. And as a Jinx, well, they say late game doesn't actually mean time-wise in game. No, it just means items.
Exactly.
So if you get them items quicker, then you're instantly integrating like it. Unless you're Caitlyn. Caitlyn doesn't matter if everyone has 1 item. If you got 3 items, you fall off. Okay, it's just a rule. You don't do any damage. The items are half effective.
Play happening down bot. Teleport's coming through.
Imagine if Echo had TP to join here too.
Oh, that would be nice. Imagine if Messi and Snow had the unstoppable force to use with that teleport play. That also could have been handy. Instead, Mansfield recognizing they don't have ultimates. They look for the fight. Another snipe with the Death Rocket hits the back line as Messi and Snow is unable to find Blazing Spirit. Front line from Mansfield continuing to move forward, but they won't go under the tower, not without this minion wave. And that's a big minion wave. Bot side tower probably about to go down.
But I do actually still like this kind of style from St. Paul's. I mean, they're not using it to its fullest extent, but it's that, look, they are the aggressive team, and they're behind against the late scaling team. They can't just sit back and farm and try to catch up and then look for fights, which, maybe they could do, but even then, like, when this team is, at this point, they can't. It's too late now. They're committed to that Korean solo queue style. Let's just fight, and maybe we can get some shutdowns and stuff like that, which is the way to play it, this situation.
Wait. Why is that Korean? That's universal solo queue style. That's not just Korean.
I mean, it's Korean is like 11-minute 5-man bot lane dives. Like, it's... And once they lose the fight, then it's open mid.
You're right. In my solo queue games, it's 5-minute bot lane dives, and then 7-minute bot lane dives.
And then no FF until 35 minutes.
And then I never play support again. But, this is definitely going Mansfield's way, I think, when we look at this overall situation. And what I like about both these teams, though, even though this is turning into a bit of a one-sided affair, you do see how they are working together. The communication is coming through, and even though that play for St. Paul's probably wasn't timed correctly, I agree with you. The spirit of the play was right. This is a team that recognized, you know what, we have our ultimates now, maybe not off cooldown, but they're available. This is when we should be that stronger team. It's just a bit unfortunate that the hole they kind of dug was a bit too deep, I feel, for them to realistically crawl out of at this stage.
Could still, I mean, the problem is Silas and Jinx are both kind of online. I mean, Jinx is super online, Silas is getting there, and Silas is always just annoying, especially because you have to engage into Silas. That's when he wants, that's his perfect scenario, because he can use his melee range attacks and abilities. He can always get a W off on someone. That's one of the biggest struggles. But
Hunting You has been found in their own jungle. Blazing Spirit drops the choppers, and Hats already in this Nihilus space will unfortunately solve the Rubik puzzle, and, well, that's going to do it for both jungle and support. Free dragon now for Mansfield to collect at their leisure. It will be their second of the game. And it's crazy to think that that is only their second dragon, but we're not even 15 minutes into this match yet.
No,
and
you couldn't even FF if you wanted to.
Yeah, it's 7-0-7 on Blazing Spirit. That's going to be the second dragon secured. This has just been Mansfield steamrolling in our opening game.
Yeah, but that's the best thing. It's a best of 5 series, and look, honestly, we could see these comps being run back again because it's not like St. Paul's don't know how to execute it. They've just fallen a little bit too far behind. But what we learn next time? No level 1 invade. Simple as that. I don't think they'll go for it again next game with the same comps. Look, if they do, well, but all you can take at the moment is just looking at what we can see here.
Well, Scion paying the Scion tax, I suppose. That Stay Closer is going to try to make an appearance. What an unstoppable force out of Messi and Snow, though. Will buy enough time for Hunting You to escape as well. Admiral Kim wanted a part of this, but now without backup, I'm a little bit surprised they're staying around closer. Trying to go deep and actually finds Hunting You. I believe he stole the Paranoia at that last second and just used it to execute the Nocturne. Admiral Kim is going to be able to escape. Closer definitely feeling themselves, though, with solo plays like that.
I mean, that's the thing. Once you get that little bit stronger on Silas, you can run him with no health bar because if you've got a W, you're good to go. You'll catch it back. Such a strong champion, but really, really hard now for St. Paul's to kind of do anything. You do just have to keep looking for those plays, and hopefully you can find them catching out, find them getting a little bit overconfident, playing bad, catch a jinx out, going for a solo invade or something. But at the end of the day, it's really about Mansfield just trying to execute cleanly and finish off this game and not make mistakes and allow St. Paul's back into the game. Getting that in here and not pushing down that lane and moving to other lanes, simple macro stuff like that, which has always been Mansfield's strength, is that good ability to play macro. Interesting to go for the Phantom Dancer on the Jinx 2 rather than the Hurricanes, obviously, to get those multiple rockets.
I mean, at this stage, though,
it doesn't matter.
I'm just pointing out that you've hit your 2-item power spike at under 15 minutes, which is like quite insane. More bad times for St. Paul's, particularly in the top lane, as we're seeing. Yeah, no, that does seem to be a big careful right here. Ultimate used to escape the tower damage.
You use the ultimate on the tower?
Well,
Because it stops tower damage?
It's a stressful situation, okay? Yeah, you don't know how much that next shot's going to do. It's a bad time. You just play it safe. Play it safe,
ult out of the way.
Tower does go down regardless. It's 12k gold lead. They're just adding to it as structures are falling left, right, and center. Ooh, Shield Stargo has to play a little bit of footsies with this Nocturne, and flashing over the wall. Hats is looking to go straight into it as we have our first pause of the afternoon.
Yeah, the first technical issue. Obviously, we'll find out what that is as soon as possible. But usually we'd go through a bit of post-analysis or what both teams can do here, but it's one of those situations where one team has a lot of agency and one team doesn't have much at all, and it's the team without the big ultimates that has that agency. It's one of those, I need to protect the AD carry, but if the AD carry can kill you before you get on it, he doesn't need no protecting, so this Lulu's going to go hunting. You can see Silas is now, all the mythics are picked up for the blue side. I'm sure red side's not far off picking up those mythics.
But that's a good point, though, because like when you look at the sort of team fight comparison right now, when you're sitting at 5 versus 1 mythic, I don't really know any situation outside of like complete catastrophe that the side with 5 mythics loses that team fight.
No, I don't think it's really... I mean, not that the mythics themselves are particularly strong, but once you get the mythic bonuses onto the other items, can go quite strong. I'm expecting Silas to pick up the Magi's. Super cheap to get that mythic bonus on, for sure.
At, like, the build comparison right now between Blazing Spirit and
that's
Nine.
the biggest gap.
Like that, there's just, unfortunately, the damage gap.
She's like 12 CSPM, which is nuts.
Yeah, like this is... Blazing Spirit has been having a near immaculate game on this Chicks. I don't think there's another way
It's
around.
one of those things too, once you get that little bit farther ahead, because obviously minions scale with levels in game. So if you've got items, if you've got more items and levels, then the minion's actually quite weak, so she's just one-hitting them. So it's almost like you can't miss CS. If you click on the minion, you're getting the CS.
Yeah.
So it makes it a lot easier to farm. But yeah, this is basically dream scenario for Mansfield. Like literally, the only thing that could make it a little bit better is if there were no assists on Jinx and instead she had 15 kills.
Yeah, I that would be nice.
That's the only more additional scenario.
You know what? No, that's just greedy at that stage. You're asking for too much at that stage.
Too much.
You already have, like, 2 completed items versus your laning counterpart who has 0 completed items.
At this point, basically the only way that this game is really going to swing around is if we see a 5-man Nexus dive into Jinx deciding to go AP.
Yeah, that would be...
But even then, I don't think it would... I think the
you want
Silas
to
and the
talk
Oliver...
about solo queue strats. That's a solo queue strat right there if I've ever heard
5-man dive.
The 5-man dive into the item cell tier strat. It's
a classic.
Unorthodox. Doesn't usually bode well, but I see it attempted quite frequently.
It's a quite frequently attempted strategy to minimum success, but you never know. This could be the time when it does work out. Can you even isn't tier unique now? You can't buy multiple tiers
No, you can. I'm pretty sure.
because they made it a starter item, right? Maybe you can.
No, I think you can buy multiple. They just don't have the effect. That said, hunting you, just being jumped upon. Blazing Spirit though once caught out by Rubik. Here comes the re-engage though from Mansfield, and with that wild growth, Blazing Spirit back to full health. Super Mega Death Rocket doesn't have the damage on Denial, but with that depth charge sold from Closer, it will buy enough time for Mansfield to come pouring on through. 23-5 scoreline. No one falls in that fight. Another 3 kills for the side. We're just going to escort these minions to the next wave.
They can't even take Baron
yet. You can take Rift Herald again. That's free when you want it. I mean, Mansfield can kind of take whatever they want, except for things that haven't spawned onto the Rift itself.
Effectively, yeah, they can. Everything is theirs. Your towers, your Nexus, your anything. It's theirs. Your lives, again, ours, as we go back into another pause at a slightly more relaxed moment, I would say.
Yeah.
But you can see that even then, the Jinx was caught out, was mispositioned. If she has 1,000 gold less, well, she's dead there. But you've got the team around, but Lulu still had her ultimate and can protect that Jinx. And even though they're so far ahead, it enables them to kind of play incorrectly. But because they're so far ahead, the margin of error is so much larger, so they can make those mistakes and fight their way back. At this point, really, for St. Paul's, it's more about, all right, let's finish this game. Let's reset our mental. Let's think about, all right, look, it's one of those games that's really hard to, because it's not like you can learn anything from it. Because it's more of like look, we shouldn't go for a level 1 invade, but outside that, it was kind of snowballed from there. So
I think there are some takeaways, and some of the takeaways I think are pretty relevant. Like, for example, Mansfield, heavy priority on the bot side of the map. That's something that they did show this game. And St. Paul showed that they could exploit it. I know the early game didn't go St. Paul's way, but there were those shining moments. Any of those moments when they were able to find those plays up at that top side of the map, the fact that they showed that they do know how to respond to essentially a weak side versus strong side situation, I suppose. So in that sense, like, it's really easy to kind of just dunk on St. Paul's and say, oh my gosh, they played this game terribly. Well, no, they did what they tried to do to come back from what was a terrible, terrible start. But unfortunately, with the comp that they designed, it being a dive comp, falling behind in those first, free level 6, is kind of an insurmountable situation to put themselves in. So I don't know. I don't want to judge both these teams too heavily based on this opening game at all. That's kind of what I'm getting.
Every finals, for some reason, the first game is always like a 22-minute stomp.
Yeah.
But then, look, if this follows most finals we've seen, Mansfield are going to win next game too. It's going to be a little bit closer, but it's still going to be a convincing win. Game 3 is going to be up in the air, 50-50, and either Mansfield are going to take a close one, or St. Paul's are going to take a close one, and we'll call it there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's been the scenario. Or St. Paul's are going to win a close one, then dominate the next game, and then it's going to be up for grabs in that 5th and final one.
Point is,
we don't know.
We don't know. And, last year in particular, it looked like it was going to be one-sided. We wound up going 5 games. It was crazy. There was Baron steals. There was massive dragon fights. Yeah, it was a long day. It was a fun.
Because they weren't short games. They were like 50-minute games too.
Yeah, it was a battle. So definitely don't want to write off either of these teams after our first game. But might be getting ready to start looking towards game number 2, especially if it's only the 3rd dragon, and it feels like we're prepping for the end of the game right now, but that just is how far ahead Mansfield have kind of positioned themselves. And when you look at the map too, I mean, the ward coverage is there. It's not like St. Paul's is going to be able to find a way to sort of get these flanks onto Mansfield without being spotted. That they are controlling the map. They're playing aggressive, but not overly aggressive, it feels like, which is a common criticism we have for these high school teams sometimes, when they do get over-aggressive, but we haven't seen that mistake from Mansfield yet. Still time left in this game, I suppose, but with this 3rd dragon secured, I almost wonder if they're going to be looking to close the game before the Cloud Soul even gets on.
I mean, I would assume so. You'd be looking to end the game in about 2.5 minutes' time when that dragon is up and ready to go. I have got that Rift Herald there as well, so we can use that maybe to save it to get a dancing one, or use it to push in and get an inhib and then transition into a Baron. But that's one thing Mansfield that caught our eye back last year.
Whoa. That looks like, that's sort of the vibe I was getting from that one. We talk about how we haven't seen a player, step up, get too aggressive. Next thing I know,
he's just running under 3 towers. But I'm sure we'll find out what's going on there with Blazing Spirits setup. But yeah, as I was saying, it's definitely one of those situations where, Mansfield have caught our eye a few. It's when we saw them burst into the scene, be undefeated through regular play except for one game throughout that whole season. Their macro was their biggest thing. Their ability to close out games and know what to do and follow the steps.
Watch for the paranoia off respawn. I would not be surprised if St. Paul's goes for it. They do not. Okay.
I mean, I feel like the whole team's there anyways. Like they're just going to ulti the Jinx. And
they had to be thinking about it, though. I mean, that was...
It was too free.
I mean, this is one of those situations where Unstoppable Force actually into the backline only hits closer, though, and Messi probably is going to have to try to get out of this one as fast as possible. Oh, Naya in the front line has to use that heal to get the movement speed to get out of that one. As soon as those rockets come from Blazing Spirit, that's a bad time coming. Just real quick back to a previous point, though. One of the reasons why I love sort of live events like this one is you get to hear the team reactions.
As it goes.
And just hearing the entirety of Mansfield start to freak out as Jinx is just running down that mid lane, I think if I'm going to take anything away from the game, it's going to be sort of the comical moment of what we just heard.
It gives you that element of, you know, when everyone's here together and you're watching both the teams go through the emotions, and it's a lot more of an intriguing experience, more so than just seeing a screen and seeing things happen and not knowing what the players are like behind the scenes. You can see the nerves from certain players before the game warming up. Obviously now we're into it, you know, you kind of settle and you have to refocus and you're just focusing on your screen. But, you know, playing live is a very different experience. It is nothing like, you know, comfortable in your own home, or even these kids playing at school. It's still, you know, this is a little bit more similar to playing live, but it's a big thing when there's people watching you and there's, you know, you're not used to the setup. This monitor might not be something you've never used before. You know, you're playing on a big, long desk or sitting next to people. It doesn't feel, I mean, I know myself, I like the fact that I've got a wall next to my setup. It just makes you feel in the zone, cozy. Whether it's a bit more open, you're kind of sitting in the middle of this big room and you're like, oh, this feels a bit weird. Especially when we used to host the events at the other university in Queensland. They were playing on a stage that had like 30 meters of space behind them. It wasn't even like they're playing at the back of the room. There was people walking behind the whole time and bringing things back and forth and transitioning to the change rooms.
That said, I kind of like where we're set up right here at Queen's University, though, because behind us, this backdrop, I mean, you get to see the city skyline, sunny day out there. Admiral Kim might be having a bit more time to take a look back if this fight doesn't go their way. Fortunately, they'll be able to jump out of that. But where the pressure really is up top right now. Mansfield setting themselves up for that siege. They've already cracked open the middle of the St. Paul space, but they won't be able to crack open the top side just yet. Baron did spawn about 15 seconds ago, so St. Paul's has to be aware that's going to be at the back of their mind right now. Will they be able to find their way towards it? I don't know. Like, I don't know what St. Paul's can realistically do to stop any sort of Baron play coming from the Mansfield team.
No, it's one of those, there's not much they can really do. It's just a massive advantage. I'm actually kind of surprised the Hullbreaker hasn't been picked up on the Scion there. Considering it seems like he doesn't need to actually be there to protect the team, doesn't need to be there for the team fight, so he can just put that side pressure on. Even though it's a bit unconventional item, it's something very strong. One thing I think that should happen is getting Adamer's chains for someone and putting it on the Jinx. If you put it on the Nocturne, like, he's always going to be in close proximity. You get a stopwatch as well to keep that tenacity reduction, because you actually end up getting negative tenacity if the champion hasn't built any tenacity, or it does have a very low value. That's maybe the biggest thing, because everyone looks at it's 30% reduced damage from the target, but the main strength of it is that they have 20% or 40% reduced tenacity if you're within QE. So that is such a big thing, especially on this Jinx who has the Lulu to cleanse and help get away. You know, we'll probably build a Mikhail soon as well, but not having those abilities and being able to follow up your CC with the Nautilus ulti, the Unstoppable Force, Nocturne Fear, Echo Stun, if you can chain it all together, especially if it's increased stuns too, like, you know, I know. Oh, here we go.
Okay, that's the Unstoppable Force taken by Closer, looking for a way in, not going to find it. St. Paul's, they sniff out a bit of trouble, and it's immediately abandoned ship. Why? Well, Kip Kangaroos also started sieging in the base, but even in a 4v5, I don't really like St. Paul's odds. At the moment, though, Baron is going to be started up. Admiral Kim and co probably going to be looking for that miraculous steal. There's the paranoia being used, but Mansfield will back away. Leading the charge, actually, is Shin Stargo, which is interesting. That said, St. Paul's knows they can't really jump on this move. 5-man Unstoppable Force! And followed up with the Wild Growth. Everyone on St. Paul's gets knocked up, and that's going to be the wipes. Teleports to that bot side of the map. The rest of the team pushing up top, and replays. I feel like that's the fight that might end this game.
I think that was it, and that's the biggest problem when you have that dive call. That's why Silas is just such a strong champion, because you just go, oh, you have a mount fight? Well, look, guess what? We have one too, and I've got AP scaling because that's all I build, and so that damage from that initial unstoppable force probably made him top of the damage charts, even with this jinx. We'll have to see after the game, but that was a massive fight for Mansfield. Good opportunity to catch her out, and you never see a 5-man muff it up, but that's in the jungle, close proximity, and they're not even going to let them up. They're not even going to end the game. They're just going to take everything, and they're going to go back to the Baron.
I think we need to put an asterisk on that 5-man ult because, yes, it did kind of hit everyone. I'm pretty sure it hit the 5th person with the wild growth on entry.
There you go.
So it was like a 4-man plus wild growth at the same time.
That got growth 5-man.
Yeah, like that was... Look, all I'm saying is all 5 members got knocked off. That was a big play for Mansfield, and it's got to feel a little bit awkward for St. Paul's when it's sort of like your own comp style used against
yeah, you've just been dived by them.
That effectively. Baron's picked up. 3 inhibitors are down. At this stage, all Mansfield needs to do, reset, pick up a Cloud Drake on the way back, I suppose. Cloud Soul, it doesn't hurt at this stage.
It's not gonna make their chances any worse.
Exactly.
In the game.
So you pick that up, you reset, you get your last items, and they should be looking to push the close at this stage. St. Paul's, a team that needs to dive, trying to defend, is never a happy time. It is over 20K gold lead. Mansfield, technically I'm not supposed to call it. Technically we wait till the end, but I feel like looking towards game 2 right now, I do kind of feel St. Paul's. They might not necessarily have to, but I don't imagine we're going to see this aggressive of a dive comp 2 games in a row. I
mean, look, it's definitely a comp they can play back to back. I think getting rid of the Silas is probably a big thing. I think he's been the biggest. Any kind of counterplay they had, Silas was always there to turn it around. And his heal was just so good. Even that that Malphite ult combo was really strong. As you see now, obviously Kip Kangaroo just holding the base with that massive health pull he's accrued already as the rest of the team has now come through. Both towers deactivated.
Yeah, I mean, Rubik is going to be the first one to fall. Blazing Spirits on that back line, just sort of punching through as the front line of Hats was getting it done. Meanwhile, Kip Kangaroo really looking to cut off any semblance of escape. Will chill in the fountain as the Nexus goes down. Mansfield, go ahead, take game number 1 quite comfortably in under 25-minute game.
And what an explosive way to start this series out. Very, very strong here from Mansfield, of course, to take that game 1. Excellent performance. Look, St. Paul's, they played well. And look, if anything, St. Paul's did decide the game. Level 1, they didn't get... Yeah. It wasn't like, I mean, they made a big mistake and got punished for it, but...
They rolled the dice, but it's
not like Mansfield outplayed the hell out of St. Paul's. They got a big advantage, and they used their advantage, especially when we've seen them do it time and time again, historically throughout this tournament. So it's something they're quite used to. If they get ahead, they are a really hard team to chase down if they've got the comp that will scale. And that's generally why they draft that way too, because that plays towards their kind of strengths, because they know how to sit behind it. They know that that's their biggest strength, that macro gameplay, the ability to move around the map and impact it evenly, effectively, where the St. Paul's not so much that style.
Yeah, and I'm going to play a little bit of Rocket League mentality and sort of throw it into this one. It's always better to lose a game like that than it is to lose your 40, 50-minute sort of crazy game, because it's easier to mentally write that one off and like, okay, we made a mistake early, they had the lead, slammed. And it happens. But bounce back, don't make that same mistake. Let's see where the game goes. Now, before we throw it over to our first break, once again, our sponsor, Billy Blue College of Design at Torrens University, they've also got another great competition going on. You could win a PAX VIP experience for 2 and an online session with a professional League of Legends player or streamer from the Legacy Esports team. All you have to do is fill out their online entry form. We'll post it over in that Twitch chat. And if you're here at the venue, head over and scan the QR code on the posters. They're all around here. They're pretty easy to find. And you can submit your entry right there. And I think, getting coaching from a Legacy player, that seems pretty cool.
I mean, coaching sessions are like $50 an hour minimum. So that's if you're getting a top tier coach, a challenger coach, you're paying more like $80, $90 an hour. If you're paying for LS, you're paying $150, $200 an hour.
I wonder who it is. Actually, I'm very curious. I'm gonna try and do some research, try to figure out who it might be. That said, we're gonna be throwing it to a quick break. When we come back, we'll be in time for game number 2 of this best of 5. So don't go anywhere. More League of Legends when we return.